Welcome to Sharing My Truth with Mel and Susie, the uncensored version, where we bear it all.
We do.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sharing My Truth Pod. I just blew Mel's eardrum with that one. I hope I didn't do anything to yours. And here's a sweet little friendly reminder to follow this pod on wherever you're listening to it. Subscribe, like, leave us a nice little review if you would, and we could, and we love you for it. You can follow us on all of our socials at Sharing My Truth Pod. And you can go to our website at sharingmytruth.com, where you can also leave us a voicemail, send us some snail mail, email, and get in touch with us. Share your truths with us. Hey, babes, how are ya?
Hi, darling. I'm fabulous, as
Good.
always.
Fabulous. You look so tanned.
I'm a little tanned.
At the end of the summer.
Little top-ups here and there.
It was actually one of the first days of fall recently.
Yes, it probably was.
Isn't that disgusting?
I'd actually like the fall in Canada. It's very nice.
It's because the leaves are turning.
No, I don't give a shit about the leaves.
She doesn't give a shit about the leaves.
No, it's just a really nice temperature.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's not too hot. It's not
No,
too
yeah.
cold.
Not schwitzing. You're kind of enjoying
Exactly.
yourself.
You can still walk around.
Still on the patio, but, you
Yeah.
know, more fun kind of cidery spritzes.
Oh, I don't like cider.
Okay. Well, she doesn't like anything Canadian then. Is that the truth, huh?
Talking about
You take us
ciders
for our leaves and then you leave us.
Cider's from England.
My
Don't
God.
take that over.
Whatever, I'm doing it. It's because of the apples.
Yeah, we've got a lot of apples.
All right.
Anyway, what are we talking about?
Okay. Today we are talking about, Mel, it's your favorite topic.
It's cheating again because everyone asks me about it all the time.
Cheating, cheaters, cheaters,
So-
pumpkin eaters.
Okay, if you
Right?
say so. If you say so. So it is, would you expose a cheater?
No.
No. I guess it depends on the circumstance.
It does. Like, in what sense are we saying this? So, like, you're a friend. Here is the only situation I think that I would literally expose an absolute horrible person who is cheating.
Mm.
And if it were to be like my best friend, she was like engaged to be married
Yeah.
to him, not married yet, but like engaged to be married to him.
Yeah.
And he's doing all this stuff behind her back,
Yeah.
as in like sleeping with prostitutes, like dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I, for whatever reason, knew about it or saw it with my own eyes, had some real proof, and it wasn't just like out to ruin their lives kind of thing. That's really the only time that I would, you know, tell my friend, being like, hey, I have proof that this is happening, and I don't think you should marry this person. But also at the end of the day, I can't make her decisions for her.
No, 100%. I think you have to be very careful, and I think the only circumstance I would do it or have done it is if it was a very close friend. Whereas if it was a situation where it's somebody I kind of knew or that I could tell, but I don't really know them well enough, which I can think of a circumstance where I didn't see this person, but my husband saw the husband out in the day, like he was at a business lunch and he was in a restaurant. He saw him with a woman. They were very close and he was touching her knee, and it definitely wasn't his wife.
Right.
And I know the wife, but I'm not really friendly. I just sort of know her through children, kind of,
Yeah.
connection that, mums can have, like your kids know each other or whatever. And I don't know her.
So did you say something?
No,
Have you ever said something?
no,
You haven't.
no,
Is there a
'Cause-
time that you would?
no, because it's not my place.
Wow.
She's not my friend.
But if she was your friend, let's say if it was the situation I just said,
Yeah, if she was my close friend and she was married, yeah, I'd say something.
right?
I mean, I'd be very careful.
See, here's the thing about
I'm not the kind of person
Yeah.
who just steamrolls into situations,
no.
because I also understand there are massive consequences for what I'm going to say, and you're getting involved. And I think about it very hard. But if she was my very close friend, I can think of some of my friends who are very close who FYI, their partners aren't cheating, is if it was one of them, I'd sort of have to say something.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I going to do every time I see them, you know? I mean, I think there are certain things you can keep from friends, like maybe if their partner said something you don't like, or there's a situation or whatever, you can, you know, unless it's necessary, you can keep those things from people to stop it making this huge situation. But cheating's kind of a big thing.
Yeah, but okay, so
for somebody you know,
for like, you know, I don't know if I would tell someone, unless they were unhappy in their marriage and I was helping them get out of it, and I'd be like, I know something to help you get out of this. But I don't know if I would say something if there was like a literal, you know, court law abiding bond that these two have with each other. I don't know if I would say something. I would say it if they could get out easily, not easily, but like in the way of like, okay, you're not married, you don't have to do this, you don't have to be here anymore. Like there's no kids involved kind of thing. Like it's like, it's a very, very delicate situation.
It's very delicate. I think for the most part, people steamroll in, they get involved. They shouldn't get involved. Obviously, if you know somebody's married and you see them out with somebody else and they're sort of canoodling, then obviously they shouldn't be doing that. But still, the consequence of you saying something is massive. And you're going to have to bear that burden.
Yeah.
Because that comment could, in fact, end that marriage.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard because I've known people who have cheated. I have hooked up with married guys. And it happens more often than we'd like to admit, obviously.
Of course, all the time. All the time.
And I mean, coming from experience with hooking up with married guys, these married guys are not that careful, right? Like,
yeah, I've always find that so like interesting. Like,
it is so interesting how not careful that they are. Like,
yeah, and
like
I mean,
they don't really know me. I'm not.
Could be anybody.
I could be a crazy person and blackmail the shit out of
course,
them.
but you could
I
be
would
anybody.
never.
But you could know their wife. How would they know? I mean, you just don't know. You just don't know. And it's odd. It's odd. And especially, I think, in the day and age we're in, where you can take pictures, you can take video, you can, like, everyone's secretly, you know, taping conversations and all sorts of shit. And they're just not being very careful.
Yeah.
But that's because they're not thinking with the brain in the head, are they? And that's the main problem.
Yeah.
And look, you also don't know, for the most part, for most marriages, unless you know, very close friendship with somebody and you know the kind of ins and outs and rules of their relationship, you don't know if they've got an open marriage.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you just don't know that, or whether your friend's doing it too. I mean, you just don't know. So I do think you have to be. I think it's kind of a case by case thing. It kind of depends. Kind of also depends whether you dislike the husband or wife intensely.
Okay, right.
Like your personal feelings about. I mean, obviously that. Then I caveat by saying you can't let your feelings sort of encroach on that. I just think that if you saw something out and about, you were out somewhere and they didn't know that you'd seen it. I'll give you an example. Actually, in my own life, my dad left my current stepmother. He left my mother for this woman, obviously after a trail of many other women, but this is the next woman he married after my mother. And he met her at a party, like a house party, like 2 doors up from where I lived. Like a neighbor was having a house party. My mum's not a very sociable person, so she doesn't like go out and drink and party and stuff like that. My dad's like me, very sociable. And he met my stepmother and he's dancing with her very close and kind of not quite snogging or anything, but very close. And all the fucking neighbors saw it.
Yeah.
And they all decided to tell my mum after she threw him out. Yeah.
They did tell her?
Yeah.
But after that, she threw him out already, where he already left her?
Well, my mum sort of threw him out because she found...
refrigeration.
The receipt for the fridge in his car, and she's like, I don't have that fridge, which is very romantic and super sexy. She sort of told him to leave after they had a massive argument. But yeah, people told her afterwards. But I mean, what are they going to say? Oh yeah, your husband's a fucking creep and he's slow dancing with this woman. No love lost between me and my stepmother.
Yeah, I can tell, baby doll.
And so I don't know, and I do understand. Like, what are you supposed to do? I mean, he's a grown ass man. She's a grown ass woman. If they are behaving, they've had obviously too much to drink, and they're behaving inappropriately. It's not really for everyone else. They weren't getting in a car or anything. It's not, you know, in terms of like drink driving or worrying about that. It's really not for everyone else to tell them what to do. And so I do understand, like, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
I think, obviously, they all gathered that it wasn't the first time my dad had done this. But it is very difficult. Yeah. Do you expose a cheater? I think you have to be very careful. You have to kind of put your sanctimonious hat away and think about, well, who is this person in relation to me? What's that, you know? And also really think about how you tell them.
Yeah.
You don't just go, right, well, let's go for lunch or dinner or something and go, something I have to tell you. And, you know, you've got to remember this can destroy people's lives.
Well, yeah. And especially like if they have like children together.
100%.
I mean,
it destroys lives.
Yeah. Like you don't want to talk to this person anymore if they've hurt you this much. And also it might come back onto you as 100%, the friend who
100%.
Said, right? Like,
100%.
Oh, like maybe you're fucking lying to me and you're trying to get him. Like there's so much that they can say.
100%. Or I don't believe you.
I don't like
you always
anything.
Hated him. Blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah. That can definitely happen.
And then you just lost your best friend. Or
100%.
Whatever.
And you got to be careful. Friend. And I think also, let's face it, I think most people, if you have girlfriends or even men with their male friends, it's not very often that everyone gets on with everyone.
Yeah.
Like just because you have a girlfriend and she gets married or has a husband, you know, or a partner or whatever, that you're automatically going to get on with that person. I think we assume in our head, because that person's our friend, of course we're going to like their partner or get along with them. But that's not necessarily always the case, is it?
Yeah.
And sometimes people, it's like the oddest, like, huh? I don't get it. How are you like matching up?
And then like trying to like.
So you got to not let your feelings get in the way is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like you can't, it's just so hard. You don't want to, because you want to respect their choices.
Yeah.
But I like personally, and some will find this a good thing, some will find this a bad quality, but like sometimes I'm too honest with my friends in some ways, and like, you know, that's how you are with kind of family. You're a little too honest. You come up front with them. Yeah. That's how I've always been. And that can be very difficult because people don't want to hear truth or what I think is the truth, which might not be, right? Like of just opinions of like, oh, I don't like your boyfriend, or like, oh, he's a piece of shit. Oh, I, saw him flirting, or I mean, whatever, with another woman. Like there's things that people are just like, well, again, I don't believe you, or I don't want to hear that, or maybe you just hate him, or maybe you want to fuck him. Like there's just too many potential excuses about
100%.
it.
And I do think there are levels. So I mean, I think I'm talking more about if I saw my friends, good friends, husband, full on snogging, full on into it with somebody. I'm not talking about flirting or, whatever. I think that's quite different. Or, let's say I don't know, you go and stay in a foreign city. I'm just thinking this because I've just been in a foreign city. And you go to a hotel and somebody walks out and that's your friend's, husband, wife, whatever, with the person who definitely isn't your friend.
Right.
And you're like, and they're snogging or they're whatever, or they just come out of a room or whatever. I mean, that's kind of a difficult thing to unsee. That's one thing. Flirting, I think, is another thing. And let's face it, a lot of people flirt. I think that's ridiculous. I mean, you got to really, that's...
It's very high school to even think that that's anything.
Come on. Especially if you go out and have drinks and stuff like that. And I think particularly men do this. Well, women do it too. But I mean, they can get very flirty. I don't know. They can, can't they?
Yeah, definitely.
And you're just like, what? Yeah. It's just like odd, But in the circumstances, if you're out with people, you're just like, what are you doing? But But that's something different. I just think that I would just totally
Well, it's also
ignore.
like with
I would ignore that completely.
with like other cheaters and stuff like that. Like, if they're doing it in a public place, kind of asking for
100%.
not asking for it,
Yeah.
but there's like this, like, okay, you know the potential consequences of this anyways. You're trying to keep it secret, I would
Yeah.
assume, and you're doing it in a public place. Like, someone's bound to see you if you're in a neighborhood where
100%.
possibly you know someone. But yeah, and also there's also the possibility that you don't know the other person who they're that. So like, let's say your friend's boyfriend is cheating on someone, like, you know, without your friend, and then this woman might not know that that man has another girlfriend.
There are
Do you know what I
There are any
mean?
number of possibilities. Or, you know,
So would you ever confront the woman that he's with?
I think you've
person?
got to be really careful.
That would be
with
so fucking crazy.
because that could really, you got to be really careful.
Yeah.
And there also are circumstances where people can misread things. Like maybe that's a very old friend, and maybe they hug, and you're just like there, and you know you can misread. But I do think like chemistry, you can't misread that. And you know, it's sort of like you can tell if people are standing close together, or often to me, you can always tell, particularly a man, the way a man looks at a woman. You can just tell. You can just tell there's something going on.
Yeah.
You can tell that man has got a thing for her.
Right.
And I guess that's not technically cheap, but that's you're in danger area.
Right.
But I do think it is very difficult. But I think the thing that's really weird is in a day and age where, like I said, there are phones, or people have, like, you know, find your phone, like our family, we know everyone, where everyone is. It's not like you can say, oh, I'm here. And then they're like, no, you're not.
Well, right.
You know, you can't say, oh, I've just gone to the shop. Why are you at the blah, blah, blah hotel in blah, blah, blah? They had really nice cabbages in here.
Yeah.
You know, I went to buy some milk. Oh, I don't think so. That's interesting. But I actually think that people forget all this stuff.
Well, do you think
They
like
forget.
you only can really see where the other person is if you allow them
Yeah, for sure.
access or whatever,
For sure.
right?
I mean, I guess, and I have that with my kids and my husband.
Yeah.
But we got nothing to hide. My kids, obviously, because I make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
It's not really a question of me being obsessed with what they're doing. It's just safety. And
do you think it'd be different if they were boys?
No.
You'd want to know where they were, do you think?
It's not really that I mean, obviously I want to know where they are, but it's really for safety. If something happens, I want to know.
Yeah.
And I always say to them, it's not really you I don't trust, it's everyone else. I suppose that is because they're girls. But yeah, for boys too, I mean, you know, still it's not a very safe world. But I don't intrude on them anyway. So
No,
it's
of course
not
not.
like, you know, I think I'm very liberal, open-minded. Should we put it that way?
Yeah, that's lovely.
But I mean, I have, you know, Max and I both have the thing on, you know, like in each other's
other.
things. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys aren't cheating on each other.
No. And on all our phones too, because we've got multiple phones. So I know where all the phones are.
That is so funny.
Yeah. So it's not like he could cheat if he wanted to, and neither could I, because you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm in Loblaw.
Gonna take a new phone, leave this one here.
Exactly.
Oh
well,
my God.
yeah, no, but I can see them.
Well, this is the thing. Like, you figure it out. You figure out a way. If you're gonna do it,
Oh, 100%.
you figure out a way.
And I think, of course, you figure out a way, but I think people forget stuff. And they forget that, oh, yeah, there's somebody can take a picture of me. Like, they forget this stuff. And they forget that, you know, I mean, haven't you done that where you've traveled to, like, the most random city and you bump into somebody you know from, like, what the fuck? Like, huh? You know what I mean? You're like, I remember once being years and years ago, I was at Niagara Falls, and I bumped into this person I knew from this little town in England. It's just like,
so funny.
what the fuck? And it's, you know, like, and that's like, but that happens, doesn't it? Because the world, people travel, people go to all sorts of places. You don't know. So you could go away for this saucy weekend, and you'll bloody bump into your mother-in-law or something.
No,
maybe you'll bump into your mother-in-law doing it.
Right? No.
But anyway, no, I'll just
Oh
just
my
to caveat, my
God.
mother-in-law isn't doing it. I think she's very happy married, 57 years.
Good job, babe.
58 years.
Wow,
my back.
Jesus Christ.
Undug myself from that. But yeah, I would say you do be really careful, because I think a lot of people, particularly women, men are really good at turning a blind eye.
Of what's going on with a woman?
Just
Or what do you
other
mean?
people's relationships.
Oh,
They
I
just
see what you mean.
don't get involved.
They don't want to get involved.
Don't want to
yeah,
get involved. I think if they have a really good friend and they're in love with a woman and they know that woman is cheating, particularly with like another friend, I think that's a different circumstance.
Yeah.
But I think men are much better at just like, don't get involved. Just don't get involved.
Yeah, because they don't want the drama.
They don't want the drama. Whereas women want the drama.
Yeah.
And so we get involved, so, you know,
want to save the day, want to
take
make
the
everything
whole,
better. Yeah.
jump into the whole thing.
Fuck that guy.
Exactly. Fuck that guy. And then your friend says, well, no, I love him. I'm going to forgive him. And you're like, huh? You know, and all that sort of stuff. And then that's it. You've lost your friendship and you've got to be very, very careful. And I think it really does depend on the circumstance. But I think as a general rule, if it was a very good friend of mine and I saw or knew he wasn't where he was meant to be, and I generally know kind of the relationships my friends have, I'd probably have to say something in a very, but I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. Like there's also that way of if you see it with your own eyes, and like let's say like you're at a party, like maybe, you know, the party your father was at, and someone was friends with your mother at the time or something.
Yeah.
Real friends. And they saw that sometimes, you know, you could go to the guy, to the man or whoever's cheating and just being like, you know what? I saw this. I'm going to tell her, or you can tell her first.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think if there is a circumstance where you know it's a friend and you know the husband well.
Yeah, exactly. Or wife.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, if you know both of them well and possibly that is a situation, an idea. And I would generally say, I just really hope you don't see shit because it's just so difficult. It's so difficult getting involved in other people's lives. And particularly this, because I think women generally expect that if you tell another woman that her husband or boyfriend or whomever is cheating, you have to leave them. And they don't accept an answer to say, well, okay, I'm going to talk to him and we're going to move on and we're going to find a way of getting around it. And most women don't want, they're like, no, you got to dump him and go and blah, blah, blah. And maybe that friend of yours doesn't want to do that. Maybe she can move on. Just because I can't move on doesn't mean you can't move on.
Yeah.
And it's your life. It's not my life. It's not for me to make that decision. And particularly if there are children and houses and finances and all sorts of things involved. It's not, and families and, you know, it's not a small thing. But I do think we think that as women, oh, you know, he's an arsehole, he's a bastard, you know. But I mean, then there are situations where I knew this woman I knew years ago, and her mother's sister cheated with her dad. Does that make sense? So
what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
What the fuck?
So my friend, her sister, her aunt,
okay,
cheated with her dad.
Are they related? No, that would have been her brother-in-law.
No, hang on.
Okay,
my friend had a mother.
Your friend had a mother
and an aunt,
and the aunt
slept with her dad,
and then real dad.
Yeah.
Wait.
So my friend's mum had 2 children with her biological father and was married to him. While her mother was married to her father, her mother's sister had a secret affair with her father that her sister was married to.
Yes.
And then had 2
her
children.
brother-in-law. The aunt's brother-in-law.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Very good.
Wait a second.
Very good. Yeah. So then my friend had her mum had 2 children. She had a brother.
Yes.
Then her aunt, she had 2 more brothers and sister, but her aunt was also her stepmother. Does that make sense?
Ew.
Yeah. And then he went on and he had like 5 wives or something. It was kind of wild. But that is, and that, quite understandably, the mother and the sister did not speak for years and years and years. And then eventually I think they did patch it up. But I mean, I'm not sure how you forgive that, for crying out loud.
People can get through fucking anything, I guess.
They can, yeah. Yeah, but I mean that, wow. Wow.
No, that's insane.
A sibling, like, you fucking arsehole. It's a bit like a best friend. That's what Max always said to me, like, if you have a guy's code, of course, which I know nothing about, is that if you have a best friend and he, like, cheats with your partner,
Yeah.
that's like you've crossed a mega line.
Right.
Or if you find out, then I don't think it's ever happened to him, don't think. Or anybody who knows, see what I mean?
Maybe.
But that's like that is a big line, isn't it? And then what happens, and I can't think that's ever happened to me, where friends cheated with, it's all like really complicated. And I'm sure, of course, it has, because that's what happens. And let's face it, lots of people cheat because we're human beings, and that you're going to generally cheat with the person nearest to you.
Yeah.
Aren't you? Because whoever you meet in your circle or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the norm.
That is the norm. I feel like it's more rare to just fuck a hooker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that has like intent into it. And I think that would hurt me more.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? Because then there's like, I went to a hooker. I had to fuck a professional to do this. Instead of just like this kind of drunk night, you fucking, I don't know.
It's a very North American attitude. Because as you know, I live in lots of European cities and European countries, and like it's legal.
Yeah.
Like in Switzerland, it's legal. And I remember, and I think I've told this story before, somebody I knew, and she wasn't a close friend, but she saw on the credit card bill, husband traveled a lot, like, what is this thing? Centre de bien-être. And she didn't speak very good French, so she asked me. I was like, do I tell her? Do I not tell her? That's that's the brothel.
The whorehouse.
The whorehouse, exactly. And they just put it there so that other wives. And then the funny thing was, when my kids were little, one of the nannies, I was working. I worked through, I've always worked. So I had, when my kids were very young, I had a nanny. And she told me the story of this other nanny who was always fun. When the mum would go away, the wife would go away, she'd always find these sort of knickers in the house.
No.
Pants. What do you call them?
Panties?
Panties, yeah.
Thongs?
Thongs, exactly. That she knew were not, because she was like a nan, like a hat. She did, whatever, cleaning, whatever. And so she's like, those are definitely not the boss lady's knickers, panties. And she's like, what do I do? And she didn't like her boss very much anyway. She just put it back in the drawer. Right
How many?
But like a lot.
Like how many women are losing their panties in this house?
I don't know. But
why are you putting them back on when you're leaving?
She ran away. I don't know, because it's not something I do on a regular basis, so I'm not sure what I would do. But people lose jewelry and shit like that, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, like I've definitely left panties at people's houses.
You put
just
your
for,
panties
like,
back on to leave.
Not that often. I feel like if this is an often thing, maybe he had a little fetish or something about it.
Maybe.
Oh my god.
But he was a bit of an arsehole. So.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway. Can't say I liked his wife very much, but anyway, it's a different story. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, even that, I felt like, oh my God, I've got to tell this woman, your husband's going to the whorehouse. And I did have to, I had to say something. I couldn't like go, oh no, yeah, he's going to have his nails done. He's definitely not going to have his nails done. I know, because like in Switzerland, you knew like what the brothel, where they were. And they, honestly, and it looked like had a totally normal front to it. And it's all legal. Pay taxes if you're a hooker. And a lot of women, I think in a European sense, definitely not it's not a British cultural thing, but, like, okay, he goes and does that. And I'll go off and do that.
What?
And they're all tested. They're all very clean.
Oh, they're all tested. Oh, that makes me feel better, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the same here.
No, well, I don't know anything about prostitutes here.
Yeah,
sex
I don't
workers,
think it's the same.
the
sex workers.
Right.
I don't think it's the same.
I don't know. I mean, look, I wouldn't be best pleased.
Also, like, throw an extra like couple $100 and you can do without a condom, I'm sure.
I guess I have no idea. I mean, I guess it's the rules.
Right, there's no rules here.
Yeah.
There's no rules here.
Actually, funny you should say this. I was like scrolling through TikTok.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this girl appears. And it's so bizarre, the things that come on the For You page. And I'm sort of listening to her, and she's talking about couples she's meeting. And I'm like, fuck, she's a sex worker. Like she doesn't say, she sort of says all these words.
Sex worker, right.
But she's like, oh, they're taking me out. And something about him on her face, like, but the way she uses the words, and obviously you're like, oh, okay. But when you're sort of, she's just doing her makeup and stuff, and you're like, this is so interesting. She is blatantly, in a slightly veiled way, talking about her clients. She's this girl in Australia. And because I've seen her videos now, this will make you laugh. There's a male escort called something like, he's big girth or something. His penis is really hard.
Good for him.
So he has this video and he's got this woman holding a wine bottle. And I'm like, why is she? Oh, that's why she's holding a wine bottle.
Oh, my God.
But they're blatantly advertising it.
Good for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you do you, whatever. But I just thought that was funny. But and this one woman, sorry, you're gonna think this is very interesting that I watched.
Just Mel loves this shit.
Yeah, there's one woman in Australia. She's couples, so couples come to see her.
Good for her.
Yeah, and
I'd like that.
Would you?
I could be a sex worker for couples. It's kind of like sex therapy.
Well, it made me think of a time like years ago when Max was working in this company, and it became known that one of his bosses was a little bit, and I just don't know how the person knew this, was a little bit older than him, but her and her husband would hire, we'll use the word sex worker, female sex worker, because they liked threesomes, and they lived in this very proper, very posh part of England, big house.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't picture it, right? So this sex worker just rocks up to this, like, how do you explain this to all the twitching curtains and the neighbors? Oh, yeah, that's just our friend, Yeah, okay. And there's a different one.
That's so funny.
And it was so weird. And this colleague knew. I can't remember why the colleague knew and then told Max. I was just like, wow. And then that made me think of the girl on TikTok. But anyway, it's obviously a thing. But on the other hand, I mean, it depends. There are lots of men and lots of women who go to sex workers.
Of course.
And obviously, but that their partners know. And that they feel better. Because, generally, if you're going to, high class people, like when you're paying lots of money, they have been tested and they have parameters and boundaries and, they're not just, whatever. And so people feel better because then there won't be a connection.
Yeah.
It's just sex. It's like I'm going for a massage. I just happen to be popping my penis in there.
Pop it in there, dear. Just slip it in. Yikes. Yeah, no, I don't know. I think I'm telling you, I think that might bother me more because I think I am really good at sex.
I'm sure
and
you are.
So if my guy were to be like, sorry, I had to fuck a stripper or a hooker, and I'd be like, why?
What about me? Hello, what am I?
I'm like, you could have just asked for whatever they were giving. I understand that guys or anyone like diversification or whatever you want to call it.
What did you say?
Diversification. Like you want to diversify your portfolio.
That's hilarious.
But I'm just like, I don't know. Like I wouldn't want him sneaking around with like a friend, but I don't think I'd want him fucking a prostitute.
Well, I'm not keen on any of the options, Susie, to be frank. I'm just telling you that happened. I wouldn't
I'd rather him just tell me and being like, hey, I gotta go fuck someone else. I'm sorry. And I'd be like, here's my best friend. She's a great fuck.
Wow. That's nice of you to offer her up. I fear that we've strayed very much from the point.
I don't know. I think it's still pretty on point. But I would love to know if any of our audience members has had a situation like this where they may have had to tell a friend, or if they confronted a boyfriend of a friend or anything like that. If there is any stories that you guys have, make sure to go to sharingmytruth.com and you guys can leave us a voicemail or send us an email there, or you guys can send us a DM at sharingmytruthpod because we'd love to hear from you for that. We're going to move on to something a little bit more serious and ridiculous and disturbing. So here's your first little trigger warning for that one, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to be talking about no other than Mr. P. Diddy. So if you guys can't listen to this, don't want to listen to this, just stop, go to the next pod. But we're going to start talking about this because it's everywhere. And obviously we're not investigative journalists. We are just going to, or anything.
We're just people.
Yeah, let's just caveat that. But we do want to talk about this because it's very serious. And it's affected so many people that we've looked up to, or I've looked up to for my childhood.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy what's going on. And if you guys don't know already what's happening, I suggest you look it up because it's crazy. But Diddy, Sean Combs, has gotten into a lot of legal trouble because he's being accused of sexual assault, very serious sexual assault. He's put on these thing called freak outs. What are they called? Freak offs?
Yeah.
Freak offs, these freak off parties where they're like, he hired a bunch of prostitutes, women and men, and they would all fuck. They were like, and he planned the whole thing. He would plan these orgies out, give everyone drugs like GHB, which is like knocks you out. Ketamine, ecstasy, all of these things, was supplying these people with it. People didn't know that they were being filmed. He filmed the whole thing or multiple times of it in hotel rooms, anywhere you can imagine. And I think for me, one of the most disturbing parts is that he was doing this to a lot of young boys too, like in the industry, in the music industry.
Yeah.
And so I think that's pretty insane to hear about, because you don't think of someone like Diddy, who you kind of grew up, like I grew up with, who's like this literal king of like pop music and R&B, is just comes out with this like crazy like, how could this happen? How could we let this happen? This is like, because so many people knew about it.
Yeah, and this has sort of been going on for years, that it obviously, it hasn't necessarily been in the mainstream, but, and I don't know if it was a little bit like R. Kelly, like it's sort of new, and it just sort of crescendo. But the interesting thing I find, and I was mentioning to you, is I was just scrolling through TikTok as you do, and there was this TikTok of this woman in a car, and she's driving along and she's listening to this Justin Bieber song, and she's like, oh, great song. And then all of a sudden it comes up that whatever the lyrics are, I was at P. Diddy's party, and then she's like, oh my God.
I lost myself at P. Diddy's party or something like that.
Is that what that meant? And so often we listen to songs and we just like, yeah. And you really don't listen to the, well, I don't listen to the lyrics. And all of a sudden you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's what that meant. And Justin Bieber, obviously, who is famously was a very, very, very young boy.
Yeah.
When he started, and very innocent looking. And how deeply disturbing it is. And again, you have to caveat that, he hasn't been convicted or whatever the words are.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of I mean, does somebody want to take him down? I mean, I don't know. It's just very disturbing that somebody with so much power, and yet again, it just proves the thing that if you have tons of money, tons and tons and
literally
tons
a
of money,
billionaire.
Yeah, you can literally buy your way out of everything. And you think in the United States, whatever, and I'm very pro the US, but I think, this is, whatever we say is like the freest country on earth. It's blah, 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 blah. Like, how the fuck has that happened there? And again, it doesn't seem to make any difference. It's just that it's power. And then these men, like they can have anything. They can have, it's like sort of the R. Kelly story. He could be with any woman, but he has to choose this super twisted thing. And and then because he has so much money, and I'm talking about P. Diddy, obviously R. Kelly was the same case. And again, don't anybody come for me. I know they're not connected and blah, blah, blah. Is that they have so much money, they can just cover everything up.
Yeah.
And,
But what I thought was amazing is when they tried to bail him out, his lawyers did, and apparently they made a very good case about it too. He has like the best lawyers, obviously, in the biz.
Yeah.
That money can buy. And the lawyer, she said, along the lines of, a lot of this happened behind closed doors, and no, I'm not letting you out because we don't know what you're going to do behind these closed doors again, even if you won't leave the country. So it's like, they obviously have some really, really bad shit about him that they already know and they already have.
I mean, you would assume that's it, because under normal circumstances, he doesn't have a criminal record.
Right.
He hasn't been charged with anything before. He would get bail, and that he has, and it would be a huge one. but he has so much money. And the other thing is that he came voluntary to the state of New York. He knew it was going to happen. I believe that's correct. You know, he's been cooperating the whole thing. So it's extremely unusual that they wouldn't let him go. I believe the term is on bail.
It's really crazy. Like, I've already listened to this stuff. I was with my friend, and she is really into the whole thing about it. Yeah, the story. And she just put this on. We were in a room together, and she just put this like audio on. I didn't know what it was, and then it was apparently some rapper with P. Diddy. P. Diddy was like, you know, literally sexually assaulting this guy. And it was the audio of it. So you just obviously you can't make assumptions because you're like, well, it's just audio. I don't know who's who, right? Like, but you put two and two together pretty fucking quick. And you're like, holy shit, what the fuck am I listening to? Like, what did I just listen to? And there's so much on tape about this that they have and that you can actually find online already, which is pretty gross.
How do they think it's been found online? Like, how?
I mean, people are leaking it, right? Like, there's security guards who were leaking it, who I watched this video of this one security guard who tried to leak it before no one would listen to him, and now he's doing it again. So yeah, people have, because there were so many people who helped clean this shit up because there were so many people involved. So people have so much stuff against him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so disturbing, all these stories. You know, whether it's P. Diddy, it's R. Kelly, Jeffrey Epstein. There's obviously been a lot of connections made between the sort of likes of Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy. And apparently I read somewhere that P. Diddy's assistant or whatever kind of was I don't know if there's any accusations made against her, that she was kind of doing what Ghislaine Maxwell was doing. But again, this story, it's just always about power. It's not about anything else. It's not about where you're from or anything like that. It's about if you have too much money and you have these huge sexual perversions, that people will cover them up, and you're just like, why? You know, and I understand that, you know, people are getting paid to cover this stuff up. And, you know, and then what do these, and I say men because it is, for the most part, it's men. I'm not saying there aren't depraved women out there, but for the most part, it is men that they are then holding over all these employees and whatever. And, you know, you can criticize it, but what the hell are they supposed to do? You know, lose their job, lose their livelihood. But what is very interesting to me, and I don't know, and I haven't read as much as, like you say, your friend has, is why or how, people like Justin Bieber, who has been very powerful and very well known for a long time, like, what the hell happened there that he, I don't know how much talking about it he's done other than what he said recently. I don't know.
Fucked up. Obviously, like you just talked about the song, like he's trying to put it out there, which is crazy. And that was a few years ago already. And like, so like the little backstory about that, like, so P. Diddy took Usher in when Usher was just starting. So there's some obvious shit there. Obviously Usher, when Usher like discovered Justin Bieber.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So Usher discovered Justin Bieber. He got full custody of Justin Bieber when he was first famous at like 15 or 14 or something like that, like super young. And then he gave, I don't know if it was actual custody, but he pretty much gave over Justin Bieber to P. Diddy for like 48 hours to like hang out, do all the, obviously people don't know, right? And there's interviews about this, like them filming Justin Bieber and Diddy together, like if they're like crew around or whatever. And P. Diddy being like, yeah, we're doing some stuff, a lot of stuff we can't talk about, and blah, 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 and like, oh my God, this is a child.
Yeah. And
this is crazy.
And P. Diddy has like 7 kids or something. He has children. He's a father. Like, God knows what that's doing to them and their heads. But it's you don't know. And it's also like the, you know, Weinstein and all of that. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's like this abuse of power connected to sex, which unfortunately is, but it's one thing if it's, which, obviously Weinstein is a whole different story. But if we've got children involved, or people who, oh my God. It's absolutely gross.
It's horrible.
And the thing, that I was reading the other day was, well, this is recent, isn't it? That they found 1,000 bottles of lube in his house.
Oh my God, yeah, lube, baby oil, whatever it was. Yeah.
And one of his employees or whatever said, oh, he just likes getting
what?
Or something like that. He said it
what the fuck?
Some other kind of way. And you're like,
what the fuck?
And then, the fact that he filmed so much stuff, kind of a la Jeffrey Epstein. But obviously Jeffrey Epstein was filming people to then kind of blackmail them. I believe that was the thing. And what's happened with P. Diddy is they've obviously seized the friggin' video.
Well, because he got like male prostitutes, and like I think he got female prostitutes too. Like, so he was getting a lot of people who were doing this for a living, was still drugging them, and these freak offs, as he quote, that's what he called them, like they would go on for days, and he would keep drugging them for them to keep going.
And obviously drugging them without their knowledge.
Like putting it in the champagne and like doing all this like
what's a date rape drug? And that was it GHB?
Yeah.
But GHB, I believe, disappears in your system, which is one of the problems.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
I should probably look it up. But one of my friends was
oh my God.
Date
rape,
yeah.
Oh God.
And the problem is the next morning she woke up somewhere and
oh my God.
Yeah, but she was able to piece kind of what happened, but obviously you're not able to prosecute. And it's something to do with it does also disappear in your body or something. I should probably not say that, not look it up. But like people who are using these kind of drugs, they know what they're doing. Because like the person won't remember, and there's nothing they can do. I don't know if you've also heard, sort of going off track, talking about gross people, but there's a huge court case going on in France at the moment.
About what?
So it's
about the guy. Oh my God, this is so gross. I read the article about this.
Yeah. So it's a huge thing going on in France. And this man, this couple basically from this, very ordinary village in the south of France, nice life, 3 kids, very well known in the community. He basically gets caught one day purely, like the woman, his wife, had been feeling kind of funny and she has lapses of memory and they think she's got dementia or something and is going to the doctor and blah, blah, blah. Nothing to carry on, them still married and blah blah blah. And one day the father they get a call from the police and he's been caught in a supermarket taking photos under women's skirts.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. The upskirt photos.
Yeah. And then the police kind of sees this is a very short version, sees his phone and his computer, and they find something like 20,000, 30,000, whatever images of him arranging rendezvous, getting random men to rape his wife while she's completely
passed out.
Yeah.
No idea.
And he's given her so many drugs that she can't remember having taken the drugs, remember the act. And we're talking like, over 50. There's something like 50 men on trial at the moment, but it's more than that. It's so many rapes. It's just
disgusting.
Physically, you want to throw up. And a man, and he has admitted he's done it. He's admitted in open court last week.
Yeah.
He did it. Obviously, his children have to live that. She has to live it. But it's still, this isn't P. Diddy and this isn't Epstein and this isn't. But this is somebody who abused his power in the sense that everyone thought he was a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that he thought that this woman, his wife, much like, if it does come to pass that B. Diddy is guilty. And again, I can't be the jury and executioner of P. Diddy, but if it is true, he's basically just completely, obviously violated people that he's raped and whatever, but violated just not given a shit about anybody being a human being.
Yeah.
And it's so peculiar in the case of P. Diddy for somebody who has access to everything and everyone. I mean, you think like, didn't he date j-lo at one day?
Yes.
I mean, he's dated everyone. Like his last wife, who died, I believe, and
Mysterious.
people are like talking about that. Unbelievably beautiful, and you're like, the women that he is able to get, as his girlfriends or acquaintances or anything without doing anything. And that's why it's so like, what is this? And how long is this in the psyche of this man? Was he always like this?
Right.
I mean, you assume that this sort of escalated. And obviously, I believe that in the public kind of narrative, the reason we really sort of started to find out about it is because of that footage in the hotel.
Of Cassie.
Yeah. Is that his latest girlfriend?
No.
I don't know how long ago that was. And he was literally kicking.
It was like a
kicking her in the-
2016 or something like that video. Like it was
Right.
a long time ago, but then it just resurfaced.
Right.
And then she tried to like, obviously like
She was
take
trying
the
to
court
run-
for him.
Yeah.
And then she was getting like threatened by his team.
Right.
And so she just took the money, obviously, because I would fucking do the same.
I don't
like,
blame her. What's she gonna do?
all.
It's like
Like-
trying to fight the machine. Well, how's she gonna do that? And if she's doing it on her own, and in most of all these other cases,
Cass is also like she's not everyone knows about her like they do
Yeah.
Diddy. Like she doesn't have as much money. Like
yeah.
it's
And
just
and
not the
it's not
same.
for anybody to judge what she needs to do. But I mean, then I guess it started to be known. Like, oh my god, what has he been
and it's
doing?
that video is so disturbing. Like don't go watch it if you don't want
No.
to. But like it's if you do want any kind of proof that he's a violent, horrible person, it's right there.
Yeah, I mean, it is terrifying that he's in. I believe it's a hotel. Like,
yeah, it's like a hallway or something, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's on a floor of a hotel.
Yeah.
And she's trying to get in the elevator or whatever.
Right.
And he's literally sort of kicking her head in. I can't remember if he's beating her or punching her or whatever he's doing. But you're just like, and to me, it's like the arrogance. Like every major luxury hotel has cameras everywhere,
Yes.
especially in the United States. And you can pay off whoever you like, but eventually there's going to be a copy of that, which I assume is what happened. They paid somebody off and eventually, it resurfaces.
Yeah.
And
There was other things where like he would abuse her in public.
Yeah.
And like literally punch her in public and no one would do anything.
Nice.
So like there's things that have always been there
Mm.
and most of the people around him, because he is, who he is.
Yeah.
And, there's always going to be, unfortunately, there's always going to be people like that.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Where
Because
it's just you have the money, you have the power.
Yeah, and you have this disturbing, like almost fatal cocktail of somebody who has deep perversions
Mhm.
and who has so much money and so many resources and access to people that they can hide it for so very long. And and I think the problem is it's a bit like, we're talking about the cheater. If you get away with something for so long, whatever it is you're doing, you get lazy.
Mhm.
And just think, I've been doing this for the last
I'm going to get away with it.
40
It's
years or
fine.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, P. Diddy's a little bit older than me, I think. So, I mean, and he's been in the public eye for since he was in his 20s or forever.
He owns Ciroc, or he did. You know what I mean? Like he's brought these brands up from like nothing.
It's yeah. And it's like, how are you going to fight that?
Yeah.
It's a bit like, not the same way, but, people who just sort of destroyed Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
He was the president of the fucking United States. He's like a 21-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, what exactly is she meant to do?
Yeah.
She made, or maybe didn't, or whatever, a mistake. What is she supposed to do? Like, how are you supposed to stand up to these people?
No, it's ridiculous.
You cannot, when they have armies of lawyers, armies of people who are going to do whatever for money and,
It's politics, American politics. That's a scary fucking world.
yeah. But I
Like-
mean, I think that's the disturbing thing is this happens everywhere.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who it is. And it's just desperately sad. Like you said, that this happened behind closed. All he had to do was have a big house and lots of money and hide it. And the thing that I suppose we're going to find out about more and more is all the famous people who went to the parties.
Oh.
And there are so many.
So many.
I mean, we were just talking about J. I mean, you don't think of J-Lo as somebody who's doing anything,
Well, Usher just deleted all of his tweets.
Oh,
So did
really?
Megan Fox.
Oh,
I think
really?
there's someone else who just did too. Like, these people are so scared because there is 100% evidence of
There must be.
whoever's in there, whoever's
There
been in
must
there.
be.
Yeah.
There were some photos, I think I saw today, of showing all the parties and all the famous people. And you've got J-Lo, you've got
Because
everybody
it's a
in
party.
Gigi-
Whoever's who is there,
yeah,
right?
If you want to be in the entertainment business, if you want to be a singer or a whatever, an actor, well, you're invited to that party. I mean, of course you're bloody going.
Of course you're going.
And you worry about whatever happens.
You don't think you're going to be drugged by a champagne bottle and I
mean, it's quite and we've only just scratched the surface.
No, literally, this is just all come out.
I wonder how the trial and
once
how
the trial starts, really starts. I do want to just get in here and talk about GHB and just fact check us. So this is from the Oxford Treatment Centre.
Oh yes,
the website. And so it says about 95% of this drug is metabolized by the liver, and it has a half-life of about 30 to 60 minutes. This means that 50% of GHB is eliminated from the body within 1 hour. Okay. So, give or take what that means. So it says, so within 30 minutes to 1.5 hours, GHB may be completely eliminated from the body if it is mixed with alcohol.
That's the point. That's why it's so difficult with rape. Like I was telling you about my friend.
But it can last for 24 hours. Too.
Yeah, but obviously in most cases it's happened and you end up somewhere and you literally don't know what's happened. And if you sort of did then go to the police, you have no memory of it. And you say, well, I don't remember, therefore I must have been drugged, which, we started to sort of unlearn a little bit about. I was in university in the 90s. It started to sort of rear its ugly head then. But of course, what are you going to do? And the police test you, there'll be nothing in you. It's still to this day a massive problem. And that's, I've taught my girls, if you go anywhere in public, I taught them from a young, and they're sort of, they're older teenagers now, but you go somewhere, you watch the drink.
Yeah.
You never walk away from a drink in public, particularly if you're in a club, in a restaurant. And I suppose I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't had a friend.
Right.
And that was one friend where it happened a very serious situation, but other friends where they've been drugged. So I knew it. And I say to them, you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Do never, ever leave a drink.
Never leave a drink. I always put my hand over my drink.
If you're
sort of holding it around,
or if you're turning
if you're dancing
away
with your drink,
yeah. Always, please.
It's fucked up to think about this
anybody,
thing, but we do.
Please think about it. Don't leave it because you don't know, and it is actually extremely common.
Yes,
because it's
disturbingly,
it's very easy to get hold of.
Yeah,
and
so just be careful.
Too much information out there for the wrong kind of mind to do it.
Yeah.
So be careful.
If you're going to a Diddy party, please don't.
I don't think I'll be having too many parties.
But don't, I think this goes for any kind of, you're excited about going to any kind of rich guy's party, any kind of athlete. I think if you're in a bigger city or any kind of place where there's something going on in your city, sometimes, you're a pretty girl or whoever, you're getting invited to a place that you're excited about, but you're nervous, but people can take advantage of you.
Yeah,
super
I mean,
easily.
think about why you're being invited. I mean, I've done plenty of moronic things when I was younger, so I'm not really standing from a point of oh yes, I've always behaved very well. But I just be careful. There is so much bad stuff, and if you can always, and that's what I always say to my girls or any woman, is let somebody know where you are.
Yes.
So if you are going to something like that, and, I do understand, obviously, there aren't too many of us who would go to that kind of party because I'm not personally, I know you are in the entertainment industry. But obviously, if you got invited, this is huge. I mean, you're not going to go, oh, no, I don't want to meet J-Lo.
Well, that's the thing. It's right. It's
so
you're going to go to this place, but you're either going to bring a friend, you're going to tell someone who's not there or not drunk where you are, or don't drink. But
exactly,
we're being fucking realistic here.
Yeah.
It's so tough.
I think it's that you have to be really aware of what is going on at all times in any situation.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that to people, and especially if you live in big cities around the world, be very careful when you're walking around at night, when you're in clubs, whatever. Shit does happen all the time. Just keep your radar of what's going on all the time. And unfortunately, I've always been quite good at that, but I've known about that purely because horrible things have happened to people.
Yes.
And that's not the nicest way to learn about it, but anyway, I mean, this is obviously going to go on and on. It's going to get more and more disturbing.
We'll do a potential re-update on what's happening if anything does come of this, because rich people are rich, and never know what might happen with the law.
Well, you never know. You never know.
So yeah, but we'll try to do another one, and if you guys have any opinion on this, and just stay safe out there, guys. We love you so much.
Yeah, it's just horrible. The nastier the world just gets nastier and nastier. It really does.
It's a great note to end it on.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. I would love to say something positive, but let's face it. When do you hear anything positive?
I know, but
There's nothing positive,
guys. It's okay. Just be there for each other.
Yes.
Believe survivors.
Be careful.
Believe victims. Use your brain, hopefully. And if you haven't, if you've lost your brain, then help someone or get help. So fucked right now. Okay. Love you guys so much.
Well,
just take care, okay? Take care of yourself.
Time.
Love yous.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod, and leave us a voicemail on our website at sharingmytruth.com to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.